today's video, I'm going to be making a video in regards to how we saved for our down payment for our home. I did mention on my previous video about my home buying process video that I will be doing this video, so here I am. And yes, I'm still wearing the same clothes because I'm doing this right after I filmed that. And so my voice is still going to be a little bit raspy, just so you guys know, because like I told you guys earlier that, or in that video, that I am still sick. I also mentioned on that video that when we bought our home, or when we signed on our contract, or when we signed our contract, that it was during the pandemic, and it was literally just when it started. And a lot of people were losing homes, not losing homes, but couldn't pay their mortgages, losing their jobs, and it was just chaotic at that time. And I told you, I have mentioned in my previous video that the reason why we decided to actually buy a home at that time was because of our living situation, and it's just better for everyone, and also our mental health. We were not quite ready to buy a home at that time. I would be honest with you, we were not ready. We were planning to, but we were not quite there yet. We haven't really planned. And one of my friends actually just bought their home at that time, so I was, asking her how the process was, and it did help a lot. I also did a lot of research online how the process is, and how we were just kind of worried how much down payment we had to basically put down. We ended up doing a conventional loan, and we put down $30,000. And I mentioned on my previous video that we put down $8,250 for earnest money, and this earnest money you have to give when you sign the contract. The rest of the money for the down payment you don't have to give until you close. At that time, we didn't have that money. We didn't have that money on hand, so we decided that we were gonna go basically work on our savings for the house. In my husband's case, so what really helped him during the pandemic was that they were basically forced in to go to work. He didn't mind working, so he was working a lot of hours. He was working between 60 hours to 70 hours a week, so he was working a lot. And if you guys don't know, my husband works for UPS. I think I mentioned that somewhere in my video a long time ago. He works for UPS, so they were mandatory to basically work, and he was basically working 7 days a week at that time. But we were basically hungry to earn more money, to earn more money fast to put down on a down payment. Also, because it was a pandemic, it really helped that we did not really go out. A lot of the restaurants were closed at that time, so we really couldn't eat out, so that really helped. So we just basically started grocery shopping and cooking at home. Most of the time we do eat at home because my mother-in-law cooks, and she cooks for us and she'll give us food. But at that time she was actually out of the country, and we basically just said we're not gonna buy food outside, we're gonna cook everything at home. We have a habit, prior to the pandemic, we have a habit of eating out a lot, and I am very guilty of that. We do eat out a lot at that time, and it's so easy for us to just spend $100 on a meal, and sometimes 120, 130. A lot of times on a weekend we spend about a minimum of $200 to $200, and a lot of times we spend about $300 on a weekend just on food. Say $100 on each meal on whatever, and then we'll buy lunch. So of course that's gonna be like about $250, and the next it's like $300. So, and that's every weekend, guys. It's not even like once every other week, it's every weekend. So we did save a lot of money, so much money, just from eating out. So in a month, just to kind of give you guys numbers, so if let's just say we were spending $300, I know some days some weekends we spend more, just depends on where we go. But in a month, I don't know why I had to use a calculator, but in a month we saved about $1,200. Another thing is that I was actually staying at home well, I do work, but my work at that time, I was working at that time, but they actually cut our hours down. Well, I cut my own hours down at that time because my mother-in-law, who helps us with my son, was, like I said earlier, was out of the country. My son's daycare actually closed down after when the pandemic started, so I had to stay home because nobody else would babysit. There's nobody else to watch my son. So I had to stay home. My husband works in the morning, so when he gets home, then I'll go to work. And I'm just very blessed that my type of work, I can go in any time of the day, and I'll be fine as long as I do my job. And at that time, I have a very unconventional schedule, and it's whatever. But I was going to work when he gets home between 9 and 10 at night, and then I'll work graveyard shift basically, and then I'll come home in the morning and then watch my son, and I'll do the same thing the next day. And I cut down hours. I'll only work like 3 days a week at that time, and until we finally got our help back. Basically, my mother-in-law was helping us, so when she got back, she was able to help us with my son. She actually took my son to the river because they have a river home, and they went to the river, and she took my son with them so we could work as much as we can. Another angle that we were able to save money on was gas, because like I said earlier, we were not eating out. We're not eating out, so we don't, and a lot of places were closed down, so we have nowhere to go. We were not driving. So we saved a lot of money. My husband worked, at that time, was literally just down the street, like 10 minutes away, on the same street from where, like, basically from the same main street. So it was just basically very close. And my work was just 10 to 15 minutes away. So we were saving a lot of money on gas as well. One thing I'm also guilty about at that time is buying Starbucks. Starbucks was a big culprit in my why I spend a lot of money on during the week, because when I go to work, there's a Starbucks close by, I'll go to Starbucks. Or if my friend at work is there or something, I'll buy her Starbucks or something. I stopped buying Starbucks, guys. At that time, we have a coffee maker at home. At that time, we have my mother-in-law has a Keurig at the house. I also have my Nespresso machine there before. It was my older one, but I hardly use it because we don't have a lot of counter space. And at my work, in my office over there, I actually brought in Keurig. So I actually have a coffee maker, but I wasn't using it because I like the taste of Starbucks better, which is actually pretty bad for you because there's a lot of sugar. So I was spending between $25 minimum to $40 a week on Starbucks alone. And with that being said, I saved between $100 to $160 a month. My husband used to buy food. When he's at work, when he's working for lunch. He'll buy food, fast food, and he'll spend about $10, $12, because you know how fast food can be very expensive as well. So he was spending that money, between $8 to $12 every day, because he didn't want to bring food. He started bringing food. So I'll pack him a sandwich, and he just eats that for work. He brings a lot of water and some either Gatorade or soda or something just to kind of help quench the thirst. And I give him, he needs energy drinks. So I usually allocated $25, which I didn't do before. I allocated $25 of weekly allowance for him to have. I know it is still something, but it's better than spending about $50 to $60 or maybe $70 a week just on food, which is a lot. So we cut that down, and it actually worked out pretty good for us. Also, I was just very lucky at that time. The time that we were trying to buy our home, I was actually due for I would say I was awarded a not a promotion, what is that called? A bonus. Okay, so I had a bonus check pending at that time. And with the work that I do, I have to reach a certain threshold for my facility, to be able to get certain amount of money for my facility. So if I reach that threshold, then I get basically a bonus. So I got my bonus at that time, and I put that straight towards the house funds. We also had although we took some vacations the year before, it was just nice that, because since I work a lot, I accumulated a lot of vacation hours. Because I worked a lot. I worked a lot of overtime at that time, and my hours were just accumulating quickly. So I left my work after working there for about 4 years. I actually left my work and switched to a different job, or a different facility, still doing the same thing, but they actually paid me more. And so when I left, I still had a lot of vacation hours, which I cashed out. So along with my bonus check and also my vacation hours, I had quite a bit of money that I stashed towards the house fund. My husband gets about 3 weeks of paid vacation every year, not including option days and other PTOs that he has. But he did cash out a lot of his vacations because we were not going to go anywhere. It's the pandemic. Where were we going to go? So we just cashed that out, and a lot of those actually went towards our house fund as well. And as you guys all know, if you're my subscriber, then you know that I like to shop. I like to buy things, I like to haul, and I like to do unboxings and stuff like that. At that time, there was no unboxing, there is no buying, no nothing. Everything, my bank account was closed from like shopping. I cannot shop. However, I did buy some stuff. I'm gonna admit I did buy some stuff, but a lot of those I did buy cash. And I did receive what is that called? Like money from the government, just for being a nurse. They sent us like $500. So I actually used that to pay for, I forgot what I got. I got an iPad, but I paid that and I used some cash that I had. So that's what I did. But I stopped shopping completely. I didn't buy any bags. And I felt like it was fine. For me, it was fine that I didn't buy any bags, because I know I was working towards towards our future. And if you guys are planning to buy a house, if there's something that you guys are addicted to buying, you have to stop. Don't continue buying those things. My brother is actually planning to buy a house, and if you guys don't know my brother, but my brother is a shoe head. He is a shoe head. If you've seen his collection, it's just crazy. But he's a shoe head, and he's planning to buy a house. So I'm like asking him, I was like, oh, okay, that's nice that you guys are planning to buy a home. Does that mean you're going to stop buying shoes? Because they're going to see all these transactions and you might not get approved, or they might say like, no, what are these transactions, So that's just like something, like a tip that I could give you. Make sure that you guys stop buying stuff all the time, especially if it's repetitive. It seems like it's becoming a bill, or if it's like a large amount. You cannot be doing that. So I stopped shopping, and we also stopped going to places, like I said earlier. And lastly, this is something that I actually do not suggest for you to do if you guys are so close to buying a home. If you guys are within the 2 to 3 months window, I wouldn't suggest this, because you guys could get denied. Before we bought the home, if you're Filipino, I'm Filipino, by the way, and if you're Filipino, you guys know what paluwagan is. Paluwagan in English, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's not a scheme, but it's like a pyramid thing. In Spanish they call it condina. So basically it's like there's a group of people in this activity, and you basically allocate, say, $200, and you loan it to each person each payday, or every 2 weeks or something like that. So we were doing that. I was in one of those for like the longest time. I always do it. And I haven't done it ever since, just because we were gonna go get a home. But at that time I was already part of it. And this one was actually a very large amount of money that we were gonna get, because it's a lot of people. And when we were planning to buy a home, we were actually about to receive. So we were not planning to buy a home at that time when we joined the Palawagan, or the Condina. I don't know what else you call it, but we were not planning to buy a home at that time. So we joined the Condina, and we were going to use that for our vacation, because it was a large amount of money. And we ended up, getting the house, and it landed on the date, on the month that we were supposed to receive. It was basically in June, and that was the time we were getting the home and signing the contract. We really couldn't do anything about it anymore, but we basically had some hiccups on that one, because we had a deposit of, I don't remember exactly how much it was. I think it was around our collect. I think we were supposed to collect between, I don't remember if it was like $14,000 or $17,000, but that was the amount that we were supposed to collect. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But there was a lot of people involved in this one, and usually at that time per head was like $300, $150. I don't remember anymore. But a portion of that was actually shared with one of my friends, and we were sharing a head, basically when you receive, who's doing that number. So we received that money and was deposited on our account. So that was actually brought into question right before we closed, and we were so scared. My husband said it's gonna be fine, but I have seen so many videos that if they see a transaction that is not very that doesn't seem legit, that you can get denied. I was so scared. And I mean, in my defense, we were not planning to buy a home, but we had to buy a home. So I didn't really think about that. We were already in the process, and I really didn't think about that. I actually had my friend, one of my friends, actually Gressel, if you guys know Gressel, she's actually part of that Palawagan at that time, and her husband. And I opted out of the group of the Palawagan, because it was not going to be done until the following year, around the time we were supposed to close. And I don't want them to see the subtraction of the money, or basically when they take out the money every month, because now they're going to add that to our debt to income ratio. So I actually asked them if they can continue the payments until then, and I will basically give them the money for it now. So a lot of the money that I received, a portion of it, I actually gave back. I gave it back to him, and he basically finished the Palawagan to them, and they basically finished the Palawagan for me. So like I said, the Palawagan money was in question when we were about to close, asking where that came from, and to basically explain what's going on. So when that happens, when you guys encounter a money problem on your account right before you guys close, a lot of times they will ask for a letter of explanation, which I did. Oh my god, I felt like I was applying for a college, and I had to basically write a long explanation of what was that money, where did that come from, and basically explain how it happened. And I told them basically that we were part of that group, we're part of that Palawagan, and explained what Palawagan is. And we've been part of it since the year before, but we were not planning to buy a home. And it just happened that we ended up getting a home, and we're stuck with that. But we are done with the payments as of whatever so and so date. And as you can see, after we received that payment, we no longer had any payments going out towards that, and we haven't had that for the last 6 or 7 months since the house is being built. That was the last payment. And half of that money that was there was actually my friend's, because she was sharing the Palawagan with me. So I actually deposited her the money and showed the transaction that I did transfer her the money on our account. So after that, I was actually very nervous because, like I told you in the beginning or in my other video, that it took a long time. There was a delay on our closing, and I was scared that that was the reason why. I'm about 99% sure that was or maybe 90% sure that that was the reason why. The other reason is because they're just behind. But I was just very scared, but I made sure that I had a good explanation that it didn't come from whatever money, is actually from this. And as you can tell, we've been doing this cycle for a long time from my bank statements from the past. And I'm no longer participating in this, and they won't be taking any money from me in the future. And explaining what we were supposed to do with the money, but instead we actually put it down for the we saved it for the down payment for the house. And after that, we did eventually close. So moral of the story is, don't be part of any Palawagan, or don't get any money, especially large amount of money, from somebody in cash and deposit it to your account, or even check, because they might think it's for something else, or maybe you owe somebody. It's money that you owe or you borrowed from somebody that you have to pay back. As long as you don't have to pay it back, I'm guessing that they're okay with it. Also, make sure that all of your money that you're gonna put on the down payment is trackable, because if it's questionable, you might get denied. And that's it. That is it for this video, guys. I hope that I was able to help you guys with something, and I hope you guys like this video. If you guys haven't followed me on my socials yet, go follow me, and my socials are going to be linked down below. And like this video, also subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye, guys.